bhavatu sahano bhunaktu saha viryam karavavahe tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So last week, despite Krishna's encouragement, Krishna is doing his best to encourage Arjuna. You can do it. You will do it. Arjuna is still finding reasons to be pessimistic. That's the nature of the mind. So if that's the case, don't take it too hard on yourself. And his journey is regarding the spiritual pessimism. So his spiritual pessimism is starting to set in. And the reason is because Arjuna is now starting to understand, having heard sufficient knowledge, that this journey is not as easy as he thought. It does involve quite a bit of refinement of the mind. It does involve management of the mind. It does involve purification of the mind. So we're not going to hold that back, okay? There is work, and that's okay. In any kind of area that you go to, that's going to be the case. And Arjuna is starting to feel, because of that realization, that he can't actually do this. Right? He was very optimistic until he heard the sadhana of Vedantic meditation, and he thought, my God, I can conquer wars, I can conquer warriors, I can conquer the world with my four brothers, Pandavas, but the one thing that I cannot conquer is my own mind. This is why they say that the greatest victory in life is to conquer your own mind. And Arjuna is having the exact same realization. So if you feel like that, that despite all of the spirituality you've done, and if you think that your mind is, it's like a tornado, then it's okay, relax. This is the nature of the mind, and there's a way around it, and that's why Vedantic meditation is there. So Arjuna now realizes that the prerequisite to Vedantic meditation is mind mastery. So you can't just jump right into the meditation, into Nididhyasana. You have to have a prepared, clean, sattvic, reflective mind. And without that, then it's going to be a struggle. So Arjuna pessimistically concluded, because of this, that because this is the case with my mind, says Arjuna, I don't think I can get it in this lifetime. Get what? Moksha, of course. So now Arjuna is already starting to think about the next life, because he realizes, he's old, he's not that young. He realizes that he grew up as a warrior. And he's like, I should have done this earlier in my life. And I feel too old now, or I feel too unqualified. I feel like I just jumped into this, and I don't know a lot, and now I'm being told, all these practices, and I'm not that good. So this is understandable. And he's starting to kind of feel like children. Some children, when they pass an exam, they feel, or when they do the exam, they feel like they didn't do very well. So they start to think about doing the exam better next time. You know that feeling where you're given an exam and you do the best you can, but then you realize based on doing it that I don't know very much. I thought I know, but the questions were tricky. And then we submit our papers, and already before we even get the results, we start to think, I didn't do very well. So the self-criticism starts to kick in, pessimism. And of course, they do this before the results come in. So Arjuna is starting to feel exactly like this. He hasn't even attempted the meditation. He hasn't even did enough self-inquiry. And already, just having heard the knowledge, he's starting to feel overwhelmed. So the first lesson that we can pick up is if you ever start to feel overwhelmed, the only reason for that is because the ratio of knowledge that you're taking is greater than the actual practice of that knowledge. That's a proven formula. So if someone gives you a topic and you see how much there is to do in that topic, then there's going to be overwhelm. But you'll find that if you start to do those techniques, you actually start to look for more knowledge, right? Because you want to improve your technique. So you need to use this reverse psychology and reverse it. If you feel overwhelmed, start practicing as soon as possible. Otherwise, overwhelm is going to further incapacitate the individual and discourage them from moving forward. So this is just common sense. So now, because of this, Arjuna wants to know what's going to therefore happen to this yoga brashtaha. So yoga brashtaha simply means one who has failed, did their best, but they failed due to obstacles. Failed at what? To fully self-realize. Failed at obstacles to assimilate this knowledge. So we talked about 3 obstacles last week. Remember, we talked about adhidaivika, which is cosmic or natural obstacles. For example, if it's raining and you don't like rainy days, then you just say, I'm not going to go because it's raining and it's cold and I like hot days, so I only go when it's hot. So that's adhidaivika coming into effect and preventing you from attending. We also talked about the second, adhibhautika, which is the immediate environmental forces. So suppose that your friend needs your help and you being a good person, you want to help them. So now you get caught up in that work, and it's natural to do that. But then we miss an opportunity to learn, or a friend needs you, or your wife. You start having a nice conversation with your wife or your spouse, and it sort of looks it's going well. Then I don't need to attend because you're in that momentum of feeling good. So it's hard to come out of that momentum. Or the car breaks down, or anything that's environmental, like traffic jam, and you say, I couldn't bother going, I'm just going to turn back and go back. I can attend this next time. Those kinds of impacts. And we also said adhyatmika, which is personal situations. So the most common is illness, for example, or a headache, or too many desires, or judgment factors starts to kick in, like, I don't like them after all. So this justification starts to come in. And that prevents the individual from attending. So the problem with this is, don't think it's just going to happen one time. This is a repetitive habit. So if it happens with one time, it's going to probably happen with everyone. So that's why we have to be careful and not to fall for these. So this yoga brashtaha, which you can just convert as a spiritual failure. When I say failure, all I'm saying is one who has spiritually done all they could in their last life, and because of these obstacles, they could not go all the way, so they're given another chance. So that's what a yoga brashtaha is. A yoga brashtaha, therefore, is like a glowing amber. An amber, if you know, like burning, burning coals. Now, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of power there because it's covered temporarily by the ash. But what happens when, for example, so it looks as though it's not powerful, right? As though it's not bright. But what happens when there's a little bit of wind that blows it away? Not only does it blow away the ash, so what does the wind represent? Life. Because you're in life, so you've got these samskaras, these spiritual samskaras, and as soon as life blows them from different directions, it triggers you. Then not only does it blow these little dusts from the mind, but also it gives power to these spiritual samskaras. So just like when you give wind to those embers, it turns into a big fire. So what this really means is, once you put these spiritual vasanas, these spiritual samskaras in your mind, in this life, they can never be destroyed. So they're like glowing embers. Next time they're activated, they only easily burn up. They turn into a big fire. So what happens is, if, for example, stagnation occurs in life, and that can happen, you get sidetracked very easily, then the best that can happen is next life, you're just going to pick up naturally, right? It's just going to be a natural thing to do. Like spirituality, I'm attracted, I don't know why, but I just want to jump into it. So the best thing that can happen is, well, you can get stagnated, it's okay, but just because you've been exposed to this knowledge and these vasanas never die like glowing ambers, then next life, a little bit of spirituality, you immediately jump into it. Yeah, so in other words, what we're getting to is we can't lose, whichever way you look at it, right? Whichever way, whether you think this is wasting your time, it's not wasting your time, because it's just adding these spiritual samskaras. So, and then what happens? Because you've got this knowledge behind your in your mind, then you easily attain or come to this point of realizing the fullness of who you are, and that is moksha. This is why some of us can get into a Vedanta class and we're very qualified, so we very, very quickly get it. It's like you just hear the essence of the knowledge, and you're like, my God, this is the best stuff, and you contemplate it and you get it. But some of us, the rest of us, we take a while, right? We take some time to listen. We're unsure. We're not sort of fully committed. So all of this is because the glowing ambers are not that strong. For the rest, they're very strong, right? So why is it so strong for the rest? Because they've done a lot of work in the past life. Yeah. So nobody really has an advantage or disadvantage. It just depends where you're at. It's kind of like going from Melbourne to Sydney, and then you've got cars overtaking each other. Sometimes there's drama. But what happens is you sometimes stop at the petrol station and they go. And then you get back on the road and you go and they stop at the petrol station. They fill up, right, their resources. But ultimately, no matter how many times you beep at each other, you all get to the same destination. So there's no need to be competitive here or to say who's worse or better. We all are in the exact same boat, basically. So the spiritual failure called the yoga brashtaha, in past life has failed, no doubt. But in this life, they become you could call it a spiritual genius. So what is a spiritual genius? Just someone who gets along with this. They understand this. They stick around. So all of that is because they've done the work in the past life. So think of it like this. In tennis, we have a 40-40. You know this tennis rule? And when there is a 40-40, then what happens? If I score one more, then it's an advantage for me, right? So after that advantage, I need to score just one more and I win the game. I end the samsara game. So, but why you're there? Why is it so easy? Why do you need only 2 points? Because you've done the hard play to get 40-40. Right? That's why some of us so easily get this in this life, right? Because we've done the 40-40 in the past life. Now, the advantage is Vedanta, and the second point that you samsara game over is you contemplate this by yourself called nididhyasanam. Yeah. So just look at it like that. So nobody here is really ahead of anyone else. It just depends where we're at different points. Now, even if you fail. Okay, so now we talked about the general destination we're all going to, or we're already at that destination right now, but it seems like we're going there, right? So even if one does fail, then because they've been exposed to this knowledge called jnana yoga, the minimum benefit, which is actually an incredible benefit, is punya palam. In other words, you have good merits on your side. And punya palam, we said last week, is the secondary benefit, avantara palam. For example, a coconut, think of a coconut tree, the first benefit is a coconut, but secondary benefit, you have like coconut kneecaps if you play rugby, it's more ideas, right? You have coconut cups and so on. So that's all secondary benefit. So in this case, even if one does fail to assimilate this completely, there are these second benefits, which is in the next life, it becomes extremely easy to go forward and everything becomes very effortless. So, and besides the punya palam, we spoke last week about benefit heaven, if that is what you want, a loka. And in heaven, you, of course, once you exhaust your punya palam, then you're coming back down to the bhuloka, the earth. It's very easy to understand. Whoever goes to heaven, think of a rocket, right? Now, when the rocket is flying away from earth, you feel like happy, like I'm going away higher and higher and higher. But what are you probably not thinking about? The fuel that is running out every single minute. So as soon as the fuel runs out, the rocket's going up, but then it's going to fall back down from whence it came. In the same manner, going to these lokas, which is described in the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, it tells you exactly how to get there. Then what happens is you come back. And tell me this, when you're happy, does that last a short time or a long time? When you're very, very, very happy? Short time. So in the same way, because heaven is such incredible pleasure and happiness, it's as though it's just like 1 second. You see that? You see, so there is no winning here until one ends this entire journey, because even heaven is also samsara. It's also time bound. In the Katha Upanishad, the second part, Canto 3, verse 5, for your reference, it says there's 14 lokas in every Brahmananda. Brahmananda means in Sanskrit cosmos, or a universe. So this means that out of the 14 lokas, the Katha Upanishad says, 12 are not suitable for moksha. So 12 are not suitable. Only 2 lokas are suitable for moksha. The first one is Bhuloka, which is where we are at now. Now you're probably wondering, what's the second one, right? I want to know that one. The second one is the highest loka. Nothing can go higher than that. It's called Brahma Loka. Now, Brahma Loka is the home of Brahmaji. Now, Brahmaji is not Brahman, because Brahma, that's a long A at the end. Brahmaji is the creator. So now what do I mean by creator? Ishwara, because now you're going to say, what's the difference between Ishwara and creator, right? Now, Ishwara, there's another name for Ishwara called Purusha. Purusha also applies to a human being. Now, look at it this way. When a human being goes to the police force and they play the role of a policeman, then they put a certain role. When the person puts their badge down, then they put their role away and become someone who is, decently cautious. They may be on duty still until they get home. As soon as they open the door and little boy's coming, immediately from that moment, the policeman role is dropped away and the father role starts to come maximum. You understand? So the person, Purusha, throughout the entire time was free of the roles that they were taking on. The role of the policeman and the role of the father. If they were locked to the father, then you would be bringing fatherhood into the policeman and vice versa. But obviously that's not the case. So that means you were free of the both roles. So in the same way, Ishwara has the same name, Purusha. So this means that when Ishwara takes on the role of the creator of the universe, it gains a name called Brahmaji. When Ishwara takes the name, which is how the universe is created, when the Ishwara takes the role of the sustainer of the universe, which is what sustains space and time, it takes on the name of Vishnu. And when Ishwara takes the role of the destroying that which Brahmaji has created, in order to give Brahmaji a new chance to create something else, then we give that a name for Shiva. Okay, so in the same way, Brahma Loka is the home of Brahmaji. And now you're going to say, how do you get self-knowledge there? Brahmaji gives you directly knowledge in the Brahma Loka. Or why not just go to Brahma Loka, right? Because I can get directly knowledge from Brahmaji over there. The reason is, even Shankara says, ideally, the best place to get this knowledge is in Brahma Loka. However, getting to Brahma Loka the visa going there is next to impossible. The reason why is because it requires so many austerities, so many upasanas, so much purification from early age, 24/7, without a single break. That's how hard it is to get there. In fact, it's actually nearly impossible, especially for Kali Yuga, because we're doing anything other than worshiping God 24/7, worshiping, people and friends and so on. This is just totally strict. So why am I saying this? The only place for moksha basically is right here where you are. So how do we now translate this into practical advice? Respect and honor that you're in the right place. Because getting to Brahma Loka can take trillions of years. We'll get to the mathematics of the 4 yugas in the 9th chapter of the Gita. Can take trillions of years to get there when you compare it to the human years. So just think of it this way. When a person, for example, has an accident and they go to a hospital, right? Then when they recover and they come out of the hospital, usually what happens is they're now grateful for life. Like, my God, I was taking life for granted, and thank God I survived. Thank God I got out of here alive. So now what happens is their view about life starts to change, and they start to appreciate life. And they say, I'm never again going to waste my time doing useless activity, because now I realize how precious my life actually was. So now just imagine, if you could, making your attitude like that on earth every single day. Because it's going to give you perspective not to waste time on useless things and to appreciate the fact that you are in the best place for moksha. So therefore take advantage of that. Okay, so now the question is, what makes this spiritual pursuit for this yoga brashtaha possible? And there are 2 conditions. The first one is the environment has to be suitable. If you're born in a slum, then is that an appropriate environment to instigate thoughts of spirituality? Probably not, because we're thinking about survival needs. So the first condition is the environment for scriptural study, not just for living, but scriptural study. That means what? A place that shows you the Shastra. And the second is you should have an interest in the Shastra, because somebody can show you the Shastra, but if you don't have the interest, then you're missing an opportunity. So this means the family and the society conditions should be present, number 1, and they should be endorsing this Shastra and the importance and the value of following a religious, spiritual life. And also, the Shastra should be available, and the classes should also be available. And also, besides that, see, this is all environmental factors, yeah? Besides that, sometimes the most self-realized, you can call them just ordinary people, they don't want to teach this. Even, for example, Tapovan, the teacher of Chinmayananda, who he was learning from in Rishikesh in the Himalayan mountains, he was very passionate, Chinmaya. And when he heard this Vedantic knowledge, he wanted to come down and teach it. And Tapovan said, I don't recommend you do that because you don't know what you're up against. There's going to be so much resistance and so much, you have to maintain it, you have to answer these questions, and it's a lot of hard work to show the masses the truth of, who they are, because they're going to resist naturally and they're going to go back into the world. So Chinmaya did not, he had so much passion and he still decided to teach this. So this means what? Not only does the environment has to be suitable, but the Shastra has to be available, and the teacher has to also be willing to teach who knows this knowledge. Because once this knowledge is known, you're like, who am I teaching, right? It's all just a big dream. Who am I actually teaching? I'm teaching no one. I'm just teaching myself in a form of a different character. So this means even the Acharya has to then decide, based on all of these factors, has to say, despite it making no difference, there's nobody to save here, despite all of that, I still choose to teach. So you can see how small factor this actually comes down to end of the day when you're here on Bhuloka. So this means, in summary, in some cases, the environment is a plus. You're in a good environment, but the interest is not present. That means you're once throwing their life away, basically. And in other cases, the interest is present, but the opportunity is not present. For example, someone needs to go away for work to survive, but over there at new place, the opportunity is not available, so they don't even get into or continue their spiritual pursuit. So I'm saying this just to see how small of a chance this end of day comes down to. So now, on the top line, verse 43 is going to say, Tatratam buddhisam yogam. Now this first word on the top line, now this first word tatra means, Krishna is saying, in that environment, in what environment? In those 2 conditions, that means where the conditions of the environment are met and the conditions of the teacher is also present, and there's interest, in that place, the yoga brashtaha, which is a aspiring person, that's where they're born, in that place, with those two conditions. So this means most of us, if not all of us, are yoga brashtahas. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here because you wouldn't have these two conditions met. So what happens is because they are born tatra in that place, what happens is their spiritual life starts very, very early because of these two conditions being met. So that's a big bonus. So, and this is also true in any field if you think about it. Even if, for example, a musical genius, very young, right? They're like 10. And then they start playing the piano, and you're like, where is this coming from? Like, you're surprised. And now think about it logically. When you see someone that's good, right, at something, is that an accident? What's the cause of their goodness?
The previous Vasanas.
Huh?
The previous.
Yeah. So their goodness is an effect. Their skill, their caliber is an effect. So if you're good at something, that's an effect of what? Of some cause in the previous time that you have worked hard to attain that goodness, which people now say you're good at something. See, we usually, when we see a good person, it's whatever it is, art, music, composition, cooking, whatever it is, we usually don't consider the unseen factors. And what are those unseen factors? The work, the constant work they've put behind working 24/7, probably harder than most people, to make them worthy of being, without even wanting to be called that, but somebody calls them, you're so good at what you do. In other words, just like when someone is born and they're naturally good at something, is that an accident? See, you have to give you can't just say, oh, they're just good. You need to give a logical reason, and the only reason that can explain that is some past work that has been going on, which we don't see in the immediate background, despite them not being in the right environment. They're still good at playing music. Explaining what? Purva with a long U, Purva Janma, earlier lifetime. So they have done the work in the earlier lifetime to make them naturally good in this life at what they do. So this is also supported by Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and it says that when the jiva travels, the jiva is just take it as the subtle body. When the jiva travels, they take with them all their karmas, okay, all of their upasana. Upasana means their mental worships they have done in the past life, and all of their vasanas, all their tendencies. So all of this gets taken and put into the sukshma sharira, the subtle body of the next life. And because it gets put into there, then they naturally become good at what they're doing, which is why it explains how we're all naturally good at certain things and not at others, because we have done the work in the past life. And this is also tying with the Sam Buddhi Yoga. Is it there? Sam Siddhao. Which is, no, Buddhi Sam Yogam. Okay. So what it's saying there is, okay, same thing, associated with knowledge from previous life. So it's the same idea. These upasanas, these vasanas, and these karmas are all associated from previous life and put into this mind of a yoga brashtaha, and you naturally are good at what you do. So, furthermore, for a yoga, some attributes. So for this yoga brashtaha person, do we all know what yoga brashtaha means? Okay. A person who did not go all the way to moksha last life, in the previous life, but they have done a lot of work. So now they're continuing their work. Just in one short, they haven't passed the exam, right? So they failed, they're a spiritual failure, but they did the best they could. Okay? So every time I say yoga brashtaha, I'm referring to a spiritual failure. Don't take failure as a bad word. What is a yoga brashtaha?
A spiritual failure.
Okay, that's good enough. Okay. So for the yoga brashtaha, there are some other attributes. For example, for them, they cannot, imagine, I cannot imagine how others are constantly looking for making more money and wanting to be successful in the world and trying to innovate in the Silicon Valley and trying to, put their interest, their expressions into the world. A yoga brahmana doesn't understand this because to them they don't resonate with this worldly aspect of being successful, and he doesn't or she doesn't value it very much. That's all. It's not that they don't want it, they just don't value it very much. And they know that it's not important, that's all. It's not that they put it aside. It's just not that important. I need it, but it's not that important. That's not what life is about. So what happens is this yoga brahmana, instead of reading books how to make money, they read what? Books on spirituality. They're attracted to spiritual courses, no matter what kind of courses they are. There's some ochre robe attraction also. They're like the orange swamis. They think it looks cool for whatever reason. They cannot justify their attraction, but they're still attracted either way. While for other people it's an allergy. You think of spirituality, it's like, oh, who needs that? That's goofy stuff, That's for little sissies. Here, go and hunt woman, go and make success, be someone big, be a president or something, right? So for a yoga brahmana, they just don't value, they cannot explain their inclination for innocent attraction, unstoppable attraction for spiritual pursuit. That's what a yoga brahmana is. So just the fact that you're here, and if you stay, or even if you don't stay, if you go elsewhere, it's probably going to be another spiritual place, right? Yoga brahmana. And the only explanation for all this, of course, is purva janma, previous birth. Previous birth, I've done the work, and in this life, I'm innocently attracted to continue the work which I failed at last life. So what happens is, because of these spiritual vasanas, that is what connects you to spirituality in this life. You don't know why, you just get connected somehow. Why? Because your vision is on spirituality, so you get connected. However, cautionary note, a yoga brahmana may still lose the advantage in tennis, like the tennis game. How? One word, negligence. What does negligence mean? Think about it while I drink.
Distracted?
Huh?
Distracted?
Distraction, perfect. So how do you prevent distraction or negligence from being swayed away from this journey? Think it's a very serious issue. It can happen. For example, you meet a fox, and you want to chase the fox, and when you're chasing the fox means it's a cliche. You're chasing the fox, and then you get caught in the jaws of samsara, and then you're the fox, and the fox is not yours. So this can easily happen also because the world is very sweet and juicy. So this is how a person can sway away. So question, how do you prevent this negligence? And the answer is capitalize. Okay, use your free will to take advantage of these spiritual vasanas that you have. So if you're attracted spiritually, you need to protect that, nourish that, cultivate that, nurture that. If not, then the world is going to nurture you with, its little delicious foods and delicious offerings. So take advantage, the fact that you're interested, take advantage of that and don't let that go, because spirituality is literally the final stage in life. So just the fact that you're interested in spirituality means that you've probably already gone through the, materialistic accumulation and trying to be successful and so on. So it's just a metaphor. If you have a burning flame in a lamp, and if the lamp is unprotected, if the flame is unprotected, and the wind of Maya, the wind of samsara blows, it's going to put that spiritual flame out, right? So what do you need to do? You need to create a protection. You need to be very conscious about where do I expose my jnana indriya, my senses, so that I don't get swayed away into a nightclub or some prettiness in the world or something like that. So be very strong about your vision. That's all we're saying. Not cautious. You're smart enough. You don't need to be told cautious. Just have the vision very strong in your life. So if the flame is protected, then you can take advantage, and the yoga brahmana can use that to solve the equation in this life or the next life. Right? Because suppose one doesn't get it, but because you've protected your flame, in the next life that flame is still in the mind. It gets carried over. So that flame just easily gets ignited by the wind. Okay, so protect. And on the beginning, it's going to be a little bit hard, because when you start pedaling a bicycle, it's a little bit hard, right? But once you start pedaling, then it becomes very easy. That means you can even stop pedaling because the momentum catches on. So this means in the next life, if one doesn't get it in this life, what happens is very early on you get attracted to spirituality, and on the beginning it's a little hard. One foot is in like it's goofy stuff. I want my boys, my girls, I want my friends. But there's a little bit of more distancing away from that, more into spirituality, and then you're completely into spirituality. So protect the flame. Okay, verse 44. Purvabhyasena te naiva hriyate hyavashopi saha jijna surapi yogasya Shabda brahmati vartate. We'll pose a question out of this verse and ask, how does this spiritual inclination express itself in this life? How does it express itself in this current janma? The answer is, in the current janma, which janma means birth. Okay, so in this current birth, whatever implies or entails or presupposes or represents or symbolizes spirituality, you jump into. Very easy. So how does the spiritual inclination express itself? Whatever the field happens to be regarding spirituality, you get connected with that. You don't know why, you just get connected. You get connected somehow through someone, and you stay once you get connected. So in other words, the person is unintentionally attracted. You didn't intend it. You didn't write out your sketch out. Today I'm going to do money. Tomorrow I'm going to have an interest for spirituality. It's just innocent. It's just unknowing. It just starts. And this is also why in spiritual lectures you will have a mixture of elderly and youngsters always, in even Vedanta classes. This is because it's like, why do we have youngsters? Why do we have people in their 20s, and sometimes even the younger one I had 21, and I haven't seen anyone younger than that. But why is this? Because they're yoga brashtaha. They have done so much work in their past life that they just naturally jump into spirituality at a young age. And old age sometimes is because it takes time to mature. The mind takes time to mature, and then it jumps into spirituality, and it drops the materialism. So this is also a very, sometimes a problem in the family, is the parents say to their children, no, you need to put this Gita away. This is not for you. You're too young, right? And this is only for those who have had a tragedy in life. When you have hurt yourself, when you have suffered, and you have learned what life is all about, then you need the Gita, right? That kind of teaching. But despite being told that, this person who's young, they have no problems in life, they have no tragedies, everything is okay in life, and they still are attracted to spirituality. How do you explain that? Because they have done so much work, it gets carried over. And it gets early, very early, it blossoms. So, why is this? Abhyasena? Because of previous practice. In other words, of purva vasanas, of previous vasanas, which get re-established in this life. And this person is therefore hriyate. They are sucked into, they are drawn to anything connected with spirituality. That's how they undergo their journey. So, question, drawn how? Hriyate, they're drawn. How are they drawn? Ashwaha api saha. Meaning what? They are drawn as though they can't control it. Without their will, without deliberate plan, without any intention, they're drawn into it. Unknowingly, helplessly drawn. And also, what else is going to happen is, even if they're materialistically pressured by their parents or society, like, you need to go out there and you need to succeed, right? It's common. No, put this stuff away. You need to do something, major with your life. What's going to happen is they're going to get into materiality, a materialistic world, but they're not going to be able to survive for too long. There's going to be a constant, like, contraction, in the chest, in the heart. Something's going to be like, I don't want to be here. But they're going to stick around because they've been told to stick around. So they're not going to survive very, very long, these yoga brashtahas. Also, do you know Aurobindo, the story? He's a great yogi, and he's passed away. He was born in India, and his parents did not like the Indian culture. They did not want him to have the Indian ways. His parents liked Western. And so they kept him away from his own culture. And they sent him to England to learn from, the Western education, and they paid for him. And what happened was, he quickly found friends, or connected with at that time, the Indian freedom movement, with some people who were promoting, standing up for the freedom of India, because it was still under the Britain colony. And, he kind of liked the friends, and he realized, wait a minute, I haven't thought about my motherland. I don't know anything about my culture, about my history, about the philosophy where I'm from. I don't know anything about my motherland. So what happened is, he went back to Pondicherry, and there he became a yogi. So what's the lesson? No matter, even if you're taken away, pulled by the society, even your closest members, if you have this spiritual vasana from past life, you will find a way to continue the thread in this life, one way or another. So nobody can stop you. In the same way, if someone does not have this vasana, then even though you tell them about spirituality, they're still going to be disinterested and continue with materiality. This is why, if someone in your family is not interested, you need to leave them alone, because they're not going to be interested. The best we can do, the common question comes up is, my son, I'm in Vedanta, or I'm in this truth business, and my son or my daughter, they think it's goofy. They think the Gita is all about fighting and violence and all that, and I'm trying to bring them into it. What should I do? The answer is very simple. All you can, because remember, their karma has nothing to do with the parents. You might just put two different people. So all you can do is present a proper environment, a sustainable, decent environment that at least shows them the Gita. Like, put the Gita on the table, right? Or put some Shastra on the table. And let them take an interest, but you cannot force your child to take the interest. So how do we convince our children to be interested in this? Because a parent may be very smart, but the kid may not know that. All you can do is just provide a sustainable environment, and don't even hope for them to catch the interest. Whether it happens or not, that is not your worry. But you can just provide that opportunity. Also, Chinmaya said, spirituality is not a revolution, it is a evolution. So this means we cannot create it's not something that's like revolution, spiritual. It evolves, it's gradual, it's slow, it's gentle. So all spirituality for everyone, your children, your friends, it slowly evolves. Okay, now because of this spiritual interest, the jijnasa means one who is interested in this knowledge, one who is curious to know the truth. So because of this spiritual currents of life that's taking them, jijnasa surapi? Is it surapi? Okay, jijnasa surapi means they start off. How do they start off? Curious. How do they start off? Casual. The casual spiritual students, they come and go. They don't show up every day, but they're sort of kind of aloof. It's like, I'm not so sure about him or her. I'm just going to come. I'm going to listen, maybe write a few notes. but you know, I've got more interesting things in life. It always starts like this. Casual, and then little by little, the attraction starts to build up, right? They become more common. So it starts off, they're not that serious. You know those types? We all those types, we're not that serious. I'm just come here to check out. I'm here to audit the environment. I'm here to see how it all goes. I'm here to compare a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Taoism, a little bit of I Ching, a little bit of Vedanta, a little bit of different schools, some Kashmir Shaivism. Right? I just want to get my, you know, my grip on everything in the spiritual world over there. Okay, it's very interesting. Yep, cross my arms, listen to the teacher. Okay, great, next meetup, next one, right? So they're just there generally to audit. But you cannot blame them because at least they're doing it. Right? So you can see how they start casual and then slowly they start to lock in to a proper teaching, and the teaching takes them all the way to the end. That's how it always happens. So, and sometimes even these yoga brashtahas, they are done so much work in the past life that all that happens is in the next life, they get a little bit of this knowledge, and what happens is they immediately even supersede the depth of their own teacher. Because they have so much knowledge, they have such deep understanding. So they just hear about this knowledge, and instantly the teacher becomes irrelevant because they're like, I understood, thank you. And they can go even further than their own teachers. I've also seen that before. So why? Because they've done so much work in the past life that they just kind of like, the little fire, which was the flame, which was protected, one little spark of the teacher turns into a conflagration, a big fire. So Shabda Brahmati Vartate. Okay, so Shabda Brahmati Vartate means he or she, as a result, quickly transcends Shabda Brahman. Shabda Brahman is a technical name for the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. That is the first section. The Karma Kanda section deals with all the rituals, upasanas, how to get stuff, and how to go to different lokas. So he or she quickly transcends. What does transcend mean? Loses interest. What does lose interest mean? Moves away from rituals, from doing things to get results, which implies what? What is karma kanda? Okay, good. Action. Which means what? Now, action provides you what? Finite results. Now, think, why do you do? What is the motivation for doing? Yeah, so this means good. So I want to enjoy. Why? Because I'm not enjoying it right now. Understand? So what does that imply? The one who wants to do something does not feel complete and whole. They feel limited. So they are limited. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing any action. So a limited being trying to then, you understand why they're limited? Just the fact of trying to do something implies I'm incomplete, I'm limited. So a limited being trying to do a limited action. Why do I say limited action? Because if I do action A, I'm not doing action B. If I do action B, I'm not doing action C. If I do action A, B, C, I'm not doing action X, Y, Z. So every action that you do is limited in itself. So we have established two parts. Every action in the Karma Kanda, the Shabda Brahma section of the Vedas, is limited in itself. And also the doer is limited in themselves. So a limited being doing a limited action. Now, go back to Adrian. Why do you do? To enjoy. Why do you enjoy? To be temporarily released from the sense of limitation. In other words, just the fact that I want to do something implies what? I am expecting limitlessness, freedom from limitation. So a limited being trying to do a limited action, expecting an unlimited result, mathematically that is impossible. So because of their work in the past life, they have figured this logic out. It's obvious to them. To some people, it's not obvious, believe me. That's why the yoga road is huge. Give me a breathing pattern, give me a breathing technique, give me something to do in my visualization. Let me imagine a big globe, a halo, a light coming through me. Give me something. All limited. So if you're moving away from karma kanda, what's the silent implication of that? There's only one other section. If you're moving away from A, it means you're moving towards B. Vedas has two sections, Karma Kanda, and the second, Jnana Kanda. In other words, they're moving towards Jnana Kanda. So this means Karma Kanda, rituals, is anitya palam. Anitya means perishable, limited, time-bound fruits or results. And because I'm moving away from perishable, time-bound results, I have to then be moving towards what? Nitya palam, N-I-T-Y-A. Nitya means what? Permanent results. In other words, that person is moving away from limitation in order to attain and pursue that which is permanent, which is moksha. So that's the benefit of this yoga brashtaha who has done the work in the previous life. Okay, verse 45. Prayatnad yatamanastu yogi samshuddha kilbishaha aneka janma samsiddhaha tato yati param gatim. Okay, we'll pose a question. What happens to this yoga brashtaha in this life? So this is a continuation. How does he or she feel this advantage that we talked about earlier, this like tennis? How do they feel it? What happens? How is this advantage expressed in this life? Answer is samshuddha kilbishaha. So this person is free from impurities, or they easily free themselves from impurities upon the prescription of a sadhana. For example, a 10-year alcoholic takes a lot longer to purify, to go sober, than a 3-month alcoholic. In other words, for this person, a yoga brashtaha, if you prescribe them a technique, they will very easily purify their minds and able to move forward. Whereas someone who hasn't done all this so much work in the past life, you give them all of the techniques in the world and they say, that's not enough, right? I still need more. And it looks like, it's your fault because like you haven't given me a proper technique, I'm going elsewhere. But it's not your fault. It's just that their mind's very still not polluted. It's still polluted. So question now, how does this purity express itself? How does it express itself? How do you know there is mental purity? That's the next logical question. How do you know you have mental purity? Is there like a meter? You do something and then you get purity 7 out of 10 and then you got 3 more points to go. An app, you put a fingerprint and then purity 6 out of 10 and then it gives you a list what to do for an extra 4 points. You don't need to do all of that. It's a very simple solution. So on the beginning of chapter 6, we actually said purity is indicated how? By your natural inclination for spirituality. I did not say you need to be holy, or you need to be hugging everyone, or you need to love everyone, or you need to be the most perfect person that never swears in their entire life. That is irrelevant how you are as a person. Just the mere fact of having an interest in spirituality, whatever it is, indicates immediately you have sufficient mental purity. And what did I say earlier on? Take advantage of that. Capitalize on that. Use your free will, because now I've told you the indicator. If you're interested in spirituality, you've got the edge. And because you've got the edge, your job is to protect the flame. How do you protect the flame? By continuing the Shastra. Some don't even have this. They have a long way to go. So be lucky. Feel lucky that you do have it. In other words, this person is captivated, drawn, enamored, bewitched means enchanted, to spirituality, just using some different vocabulary. Okay, so how does this yoga brashtaha get this natural inclination? Is it because Ishwara is selective? For example, you say, oh, they got it so early. I don't have it. They're lucky, I'm not. I feel ignored. I feel like I'm rejected. They're getting everything. They're getting all this knowledge. They can comprehend this, but I'm not. I feel denied by Ishwara. I feel discounted. I feel rejected. I feel insignificant. I feel cold-shouldered by Ishwara. Like Ishwara has cold-shouldered me. Right? So is it because Ishwara is selective? Well, Krishna says the purity level is not because of Ishwara's whims and fancies. Why? Because that would make Ishwara partial. What that would basically mean is Ishwara will be like, okay, she's going to be a great pancake maker. This person's going to be a fantastic mechanic. We're going to have a spiritual genius over here. That one over there is going to be a total fool. They're going to be clumsy. This one's going to be like a really, smart person who's going to make an atomic bomb and, decimate 100,000 bodies. This one's going to be a fantastic, educator. This one's going to be just a nobody, right? Now tell me this, just common sense. Remove all the knowledge we've learned so far. Common sense. Is this kind of Ishwara worthy of being respected and worshipping? This kind of partial. Okay, here's a little, okay, I'm going to say yes. Why? From whose point of view is the answer going to be a yes? Think about it this way. If I am lucky, if I'm better than you, then from my angle, it is definitely respectable, right? Because I feel lucky. So therefore, I'm going to respect Ishwara for making me lucky. But here's the flaw in this thinking. When do you ever remain without seeing someone who is better than you?
Never.
Never. Not for long. So that as soon as I see someone who has something more than they have one more friend than I have, immediately this respect for Ishwara that I had just a second ago no longer becomes respectable. In other words, no matter which way I look at it, this kind of partiality thinking that Ishwara is there to, to give someone good luck and someone else, this does not work just based on logic alone. If you think of it, yes, it's true from your standpoint, but if you compare yourself to someone else, then you suddenly lose respect for Ishwara because, I don't have one more friend. I don't have $1 extra in the bank account. So this kind of thinking has to be thrown out. Okay, so Krishna says, therefore, this kind of advantage that this person, Yoga Brashtaha, shares or has is not because of Bhagavan's selection or whims and fancies, but because of Anekajan Masam Siddhaha. Because this person has gained, refined their mind, did sufficient work in their previous life, and because of that, they deserve it. Think about this phrase, you deserve it. Why? Because you've done the work. Yeah. In other words, if someone has, we don't like to, because the ego doesn't like to think like this. If you say, you deserve it, like how dare you say that to me? But it's true, because they put themselves in that situation. They deserve it. And from a successful standpoint, you say, I deserve it. It's true, because you have done certain actions to deserve it. In other words, because this person has put the sufficient work behind everyone's vision, which nobody saw, because of that, they now deserve it. It's just like, for example, when you save money, right? And suddenly hard times hit in a society. And everyone's struggling, and they see you very good off. And they say, that lucky SOB, I wish I could be like them. Does that deserve that statement? No, why not? Because the one who is lucky actually put the hard work behind while everyone else was spending it on nightclubs, drinking, partying, and just in the most useless things. So wherever you are today is exactly what you deserve. If that one statement can be your motto, then you're going to get very far in life because it makes you accountable, makes you responsible in life. So this kind of person not only has gained this kind of refinement, this kind of clarity, but also has, ask, what kind of clarity has this kind of person gained? Clarity regarding distinction, viveka, between limited pseudo fake goals. What do I mean by limited goals? Goals which provide you a temporary enjoyment. Once they're gone, there's nothing else left. Pseudo fake things, what do I mean by that? Things that don't last a long time, very superficial. They give a big hit of pleasure, lasts for 10 days, 1 month, 5 years, it's gone. In other words, this kind of person is able to distinguish between fake things and something that is more concrete, has more depth in it, something that is worthwhile. So what is this yoga brashtaha? The one that naturally discriminates between fakeness, waste of time, and something that is more solid, more concrete, something more real, more tangible, something that I can grasp. So this is all a result of these attitudes acquired in the last life. So the summary is yoga brashtaha, because of their clarity, has, number one, the primary goal in their view. Primary goal of what? Freedom from limitation. That means disassociation from the body-mind back into my original nature. And because of their purva janma's work, because of their hard work, when they get reborn, moksha is very easy, very natural, just naturally. You find the right teacher, find the right class, find the right shastra, just very effortless. Do a few meditation, contemplate on the nature of the self, very simple, because of hard work. So why am I saying this over and over again? Because what you're doing right now is counting big time in the future as huge points. Okay, now I said clarity. So this clarity is now expressed in 3 attitudes. And I'll give you a story and I'll tell you these 3 attitudes. On a busy crossroad, there was a saint standing, just minding his own business. And a man who was running towards the train station, he ran to the saint and he's like breathing, "Sir, can you please help me? Where's the train station? How long will it take me to get there?" And the saint says, "Oh, sure, it's straight to the right. It's going to take you about 10 minutes. And then the man continues running and gets to the train station in about 10 minutes. Now, the second man, a couple of minutes later, is walking briskly. Briskly means fast. And also, he's on target. It's like, he's walking, he needs to get to the train station, and he asks the saint, "Sir, can you please help me? Where's the train station? How long is it going to get me to get there?" "Sure, it's just straight to the right. Based on how fast you're walking, 15 minutes, about 15 plus minus." Now, the third person, it's like super rich, with a briefcase, taking photos of the city, feels very comfortable at home. It's like, what's the rush? What's the big deal? Let me be seen. Let everyone see my nice $2,000 suit. Let the ladies be impressed. I'm single, I'm on the market. Let everyone see, right? So they've got no problems to get anywhere, right? They got all the money in the world. So they see the saint, is like, "Hey, how's it going? So how are you, what are you doing? What's your goals in life?" They're trying to help the saint out. They think the saint is suffering or something. So, the saint's kind of like just having a comment because that's what the other man wants. So you just reciprocate that. And he says, yeah, yes, I'm fine. I feel just kind of standing here resting. And then after 10 hours of 1 hour of talking, then the rich man finally says, "Oh, by the way, I need to catch the train station. Where is it? How long is it going to take me to get there?" "Oh, easy. Just go straight, you go to the right." "However, sir, I do not know how long it's going to take you there." Why? Depends on how fast you are going is exactly how fast your goal is accomplished. So now let's convert this into 3 attitudes. So the first attitude as a result of this clarity is someone who wants to do everything in life. They want to be successful, they want to learn this, they want to learn dancing, salsa, they want to be good at creating, they want to cooking, they want to take every course in the world. And they want some spirituality also. Doesn't work. Because the mind cannot cope with so much. Second attitude, someone who is not in a rush, but they have the foot in spirit. It's important. Spirituality is important. Without it, I don't feel complete. but they're not in a rush. So they're a lot, a lot of worldly passions. They're still innovators, Silicon Valley types, but without spirituality, no, that is not right, right? So they have these both, they're not in a rush, but there's still very good balance in between. So for them, nothing's a struggle, nothing's effort, nothing's an effort, because they got money, they got spirituality, it's all there. Third type, yoga brashtaha. This person is insane. They cannot think of anything other than spirituality. Everything is boring to them. The only thing that's worthy of living is spirituality. That is a yoga brashtaha. They still attend to worldly duties because they understand it has to be attended to. You cannot go without it. But they are obsessed over spirituality. That is the third type as a result of this clarity established from this work done in the past life. So if you're that type, you're in a very good road. So, because this yoga brashtaha, number one, has the advantage of the previous life. Okay, they have that advantage of the hard work, and also they not only have that advantage, but they capitalize on that advantage, and they thus strive further in this life. As a result of that, spirituality is very natural to them in this life. It's not a big deal. They don't even consider it a lifestyle. It just is the way it is. I cannot imagine any other way. That is a yoga brashtaha. If that is your life, you're probably a yoga brashtaha. So such a person, Shastra, any advice given by the Shastra, she or he, when I say he or she, I'm only using it interchangeably, she does not resist. Anything given by the Shastra, she gladly accepts. It's like, this makes sense to me, I want to follow this. Anything the Shastra prescribes the nots, the niyamahas, the don't do's, she gladly already doesn't do. She resonates with it. Yeah, I should not do this. So in other words, they very naturally lock into the puzzle or the advice given by the Shastra. That is a yoga brashtaha. They naturally get it. Why? Because the past work has already been done sufficiently and they're able to comprehend that in this life naturally. Okay, now one question is going to come up before going to the next verse. Suppose, it's regarding karma. Suppose somebody asks now, what if I have past sanchita karma papa palam? So I'll explain. What if I have past life? Okay, do we know what sanchita karma? Sanchita karma is all of the karmas of all lifetimes put together. And now the question is, what if I have some past life karma, like killing a snake, or killing a something that and I hid that away, like I stole money or I hurt someone. What if I did something bad, and would that intervene in this life while pursuing spirituality? And how am I supposed to manage that? Is that going to stop me from pursuing this because I have to pay back the price of hurting someone in the last life? It's a valid question, right? So the Shastra has a very nice answer. Suppose you did kill a snake, or you hurt someone really badly, or something has happened. Because these spiritual vasanas are so strong that they're able to postpone your prarabdha karma in this life of having killed the snake in last life. Thus, in other words, you're putting off bad luck to a later date. Why? Because your sole interest is on what? Moksha. So in other words, no matter what you've done, however the person has bad things done in their last life, just by keeping your eye on moksha, that is your freedom, your joy, that is going to alone postpone any prarabdha karma of the bad deeds or the palam performed in the past life. So in other words, you can cheat your way to good luck just by focusing on this knowledge. In fact, Krishna says many times throughout the Gita, all you have to do is keep your eye on me and I will take care of everything else. look at it this way. Ishwara's laws and orders are obligated to cause you, to help you to succeed if all you want is to understand what all this is. Have this clarity of a yoga brashtaha, of a jnani. In other words, if you can keep your eye on this, Ishwara's promise is you will be successful in life and nothing can hinder you, because why? You are living the highest purpose in life. And for that reason, no person has any right, and I will help you so that no society or nobody causes you to go off the path. That's how powerful this knowledge is.
The law of karma says you have to pay back.
Well, if you're pursuing this, then Ishwara is obligated to postpone and to make this path clear. Because remember, you did not accumulate your karma. We did not create this world. We just find ourselves in this world, and because we're born, we end up collecting all these karmas. So if you're able to focus on your highest purpose, that alone is enough to clear the path and let you run this journey smoothly, postponing some of these prarabdha, not all of them of course, some of these prarabdha karmas, so that you can continue this journey without any interruption. Okay.
So is that suspended for eternity, or is that suspended and then your good action or your dharma will actually dissolve it bit by bit over lifetime after lifetime? So
Yeah. Okay, so it's not going to destroy sanchita karma. Only jnana, only self-knowledge will destroy that. But as long as you keep your eye on the knowledge, it can keep postponing it, because you're trying to live your highest purpose. But it cannot, see, to say eternity is not, it's not going to make sense, because to be for eternity, you're not going to be interested in spirituality in the first place. To be pursuing spirituality, you need a very clear mind. To have a purified mind means to get this very easily. So it's not going to be eternity.
But if you're momentarily distracted, does it all suddenly come back like a ton of bricks?
It probably will, but to a certain degree, I suppose, because of what
Yeah.
you've done in your life.
Yeah, but it's impersonal this time. Now it doesn't matter, because you just don't care. It's just the body going through different circumstances.
Well,
I guess.
Yeah, I think there was a story. It's a true story.
Yeah,
There was a killer, a murderer,
Yeah.
was imprisoned in India, and he actually met somebody with spiritual knowledge
Yeah.
in the prison time, and he became totally entranced into spirituality, and he became a yogi.
Wow.
So this is something I read a long time ago. So
Yeah. Oh.
it happened in India.
You see
So
that?
a murderer, I mean, he's already passed all his consequences.
A very nice story. Yeah. It's a lot of stories like that, actually. Okay. So just one last point about this. So there's no reason to be pessimistic about any of this. That's the conclusion. Just look at your spiritual journey as something to enjoy, like reading a big book. Imagine being given a big book. Now, to go to the last page is there's no sense there, right? So just read one page at a time. No one's in a hurry here. You've got endless choice, endless opportunities. Remember what I said. As if your eye is on moksha, then Ishwara's laws and orders are obligated to make this easy for you, if your vision is strong enough. So enjoy the journey and don't try to be like the not busy business person looking around, I've got all the time in the world, okay? You're past that stage. Okay, verse 46. Tapasvibhyo dhiko yogi jnanibhyo pimato dhikaha karmibhyashcha dhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Okay, here Krishna is now going to glorify Vedantic meditation. Glorify Vedantic meditation, the entire chapter 6. And he's going to not only glorify the meditator, but also the meditation. And he's going to talk about 5 different sadhakas. Adept. Adept means one who is an aspirant of spiritual knowledge. So sadhaka is a spiritual pursuing person. And he's going to say the greatest, out of all the 5 yogis, the Vedantic meditator yogi is the greatest. Now, when I say the word greatest, do not think as in better than someone else. Greatest just means closer towards the destination. Destination of what? Freedom from cessation of suffering. We call that moksha. Also because they're the closest towards the threshold of liberation. That's why they're the greatest. So all of these 5 types of yogis are called, sadhakas are called yogis. So now you can imagine the confusion that can go around if we speak about the yogi in the yoga world, the yogi in the Vedanta world, the yogi in the Upasana world, the karma yogi, the yogi here, yogi there, so many yogis. So the first yogi is tapas vibhyaha. It's the first word. Tapas vibhyaha is an ascetic, is one with strong self-discipline. So the other name for this is one who is strongly committed to mental worship called upasana. Upasana. Mental worship is doing all of the worship in your mind. It's no longer visible. It's no longer puja. It's no longer offering to the altar. It's no longer going to the temples. It's one step above that. The second type is a jnani bhyaha. Do not mistaken jnani for a wise person here. You can see how the verse, you need to look at the verse closely. In this case, a jnani means one who is in the stage of shravanam and mananam. I'm not talking about the enlightened jnani. The third type is a karmi bhyaha. Karmi bhyaha, where? Karmi bhyaha, okay. This person is committed to karma yoga, physical worship. And the last type is committed to nididhyasanam, which is a Vedantic meditator. I'm going to give you now the steps from the one farthest away from liberation towards the one that's closest to liberation. The first one is karma yogi, which means physical worship. The second is upasana, mental worship. The third one is shravanam, the one who listens to this knowledge. The fourth one is mananam, the one who not only has listened but also has contemplated on this knowledge. And the fifth one is nididhyasanam, the one who not only has gone through karma yoga, has done mental upasana, has done the listening, has done the mananam, the reflection, but now is abiding in that through contemplation of Atma-related thought. When I say karma yoga, do not associate karma yoga with chapter 3, because karma yoga has many different terms. It can mean, see, you have to understand the Gita from the reference point of where are you at? How educated are you? Think about it this way. A person who has not gone through the Gita, for them karma yoga is just offering their results, their actions to the field, to Ishwara. They don't even know what Ishwara is. So in that aspect, karma yoga is the farthest. But if you've already done the work or know what Ishwara is, you know how, the connections between one and the other, in this case, karma yoga takes a way more advanced level. So you also have to take this into account. But in this verse, if we were to say the person who has not heard after chapter 3 only stopped at chapter 3, in that case, that would be karma. Even in that case, because they've already gone through chapter 2, and chapter 2 talks about the big vision of the entire whole. So just pure physical worship, uneducated person who's told, just participate, offer your results to God, that one is, in this case, karmi. Okay. So amongst all 5, a nididhyasanam, a Vedantic meditator, is in the greatest. They are in the highest plane. Don't take this word highest plane as some mystical statement. It just means they're most mature, most sophisticated. A grade 10 child is in a higher plane than a grade 5 child. It doesn't mean they're better or worse. It just means they know a little bit more. They have a bigger vision. Okay, why are they in a higher plane? 2 reasons. 1, they are closest to the destination, moksha. And number 2, they have already crossed the 4 paths. They've already done the hard work. Clear? 1 and 2. Okay, so now Krishna's advice to Arjuna, if we will put this into a practical format, would be to do 2 procedures towards moksha. So I'm going to simplify this in 2 procedures. The first procedure, what Krishna would say to the seeker, is first step is Shravanam. How do you learn anything? You sit down and you listen. High school, we listen throughout the entire years. Any topic you want to learn something, you go and listen. Simple. Anyone disagree with that?
You listen and you practice.
Huh?
You listen and practice.
You listen, you practice. At this stage, we're still at Shravanam, number 1. So the main job of acharya means a teacher, is to do Shravanam for the student. All the student has to do is make themselves available. What does this mean? They have to make their minds open and available for the acharya to actually fill their minds up with the knowledge which reflects the whole. If the mind is closed, nothing's going to happen. So we can ask a question then. If, as a student, I need to open and show my mind and make it available for the acharya, what is an ideal kind of mind for Shravanam? The answer is empty, pure, and open. Why do I say empty? What does this mean? How do most students come? A lot of ideas about other schools. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to put Vedanta into what they already know. So you've heard one thing and then I'm like, oh, how does this fit with what I know? Let me put it into my existing model. But just the fact that the person's showing up means what? They haven't got the full picture. In other words, they're contradicting themselves. They're trying to put this and fit with their own model, which means their own model hasn't worked. And because it hasn't worked, now they're trying to put this onto what already hasn't worked. So now it's a mixture. It's all jumbled up. So open, curious, and available. Now, what is not an ideal mind of a student? One who comes with personal notions and prejudices and superimposes that over the teaching. This means the pramana, which means the means of knowledge, doesn't even stand a chance. No matter how good the acharya may be or not be, or how good and accurate and proven this pramana is, this Vedanta, it doesn't even get a chance to touch the student's mind. Why? Because they are dumping, superimposing, taking their own ideas and it's clashing with the knowledge that's trying to help them. That is not an ideal mind. And we all go through this stage sooner or later. And sooner or later what happens in a spiritual journey, you give up. You say, nothing has worked. No matter how much time I resist, all it does, it just brings more conflict and I just give up. That is when you've got an open mind. Because the person figured out, no matter what I do, nothing's worked. I have no choice but to surrender. That is that moment when you're finally truly ready for an acharya to come into the life. Until then, it's all sort of, nice knowledge, interesting, okay, can't wait till I get back and do my own self-study, or YouTube videos or whatever it is, right? Not that anything's wrong with that, but they're not interested, they're not committed. It's just sort of, let's visit and, spend some time, kill some time. And also the teacher then has to do a lot of rubbish removal, because the more ideas, the more we have to sweep all that out, right? So that's a lot of hard work. That's why Vedanta has qualifications. And if usually most will pick that up instantly. And some classes are just designed that they're not going to survive very long. Because, when we tell you it's hard work, the moment someone doesn't want to hear that, it means what? They're not qualified. Okay, now, therefore, tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Okay, we're translating. Krishna says, I can only teach you, Arjuna. But you have to do what? I can only show you, because remember I said 2 parts. Liberation, number 1, Shravanam. And number 2, did I say number 2? Number 2 is, I can teach you all I can, but you need to do the work yourself. That is called Nididhyasanam. You need to take what you've heard in Shravanam and now contemplate it and abide in the knowledge which I have taught you in stage 1. So 2 stages. 1, Shravanam, and 2, the most important, because any person can make their mind available in class, anyone. But very few can take that and on their own time, when no one's holding them accountable, can actually persist and retain that knowledge through consistent self-inquiry. So 2 stages, Shravanam, and the hardest work, Nididhyasanam, that is your part. So, Tasman Yogi Bhavarjuna, Krishna says, I can only teach you, but the assimilation you have to do yourself. No exception. There is no way around this. Do not stop at mere listening stage. It doesn't stop there. Take what you've listened to, reflect on it, contemplate on it, think about it, recollect it, revise it, paraphrase it, say it in your own words, make a game out of it. Take one statement from the class or from the books that you're interested in and paraphrase it in your own words. A fantastic way that forces the intellect to understand what it just read. So if there's one tip you can take, how to convert Shravanam into actualized knowledge, paraphrase what you heard, because that forces you to put it into your own words. If you can't put it into your own words, it means you haven't understood it. Okay, verse 47. Yogi nam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajyate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Okay, in the previous verse, Krishna only said that the meditator is the greatest. Here he's going to answer, meditator of what? Because you can meditate on pickpocketing someone's pockets. What does meditation mean? You need to think of it. You need to strategize it. You need to think it through. So we need to be clear, meditator of what? So one who abides in me, capital me means what? Because Krishna is speaking, so Krishna is a what? Ishwara. So one who abides in me is the best yogi. Meditate thus on me, on Ishwara, so far. However, question is going to come up and it's going to say, okay, meditate on Ishwara as what? Because that's a very vague statement. How do I meditate on Ishwara? Earlier in the 6th chapter, was it a couple of sessions ago, we said that Ishwara, listen, this is the most important part. Ishwara is none, okay, again, question. How do I meditate on Ishwara? Ishwara is what? We said Ishwara is none other than Atman. What is Atman? Okay, what is Atman? In few short words, as accurate as you can get, self-evident, aware, full existence. Are you self-evident to yourself? Does somebody need to validate you? So you're self-evident to yourself. Are you aware, full of your existence? Does someone need to say that you're existing right now? So your awareful existence is self-evident to your existence, and you are awareful of that. So what is Atman? Self-evident, fully aware, awareful of what? Not only of your existence, but whatever arises out of existence. Thoughts. Out of whom do thoughts arise of? Somebody else? Does somebody just like shoot thoughts at you? Out of whom do thoughts arise? Out of you alone. And where do those, when they end, where do they go back to? Do you just like drop into someone else's head, or did they go back into you? And you're aware of all of that. So you were not only self-evident to yourself during that entire process, but you were also self-evident about your existence. And not only were you self-evident about your existence, but you're also self-evident throughout the entire journey while the thoughts arose and they dissolved back into your existence. And you're aware of the entire journey. You're fully aware, full of all of that. So, how do I meditate on Ishwara? As Atman. So this means that Ishwara is not a person. This is very simple by now in class. Is not a person sitting somewhere, chilling out, smoking a cigar, looking down on people going, ha ha ha, this one's going to be, I like her bum, she's going to get Moksha today, right? It doesn't work like that. It's just an impersonal, very compassionate, you can say, principle that simply provides whatever we're looking for. If you want, success in money, that is exactly what Ishwara is facilitated to provide you. If you want moksha, Ishwara's laws and orders are required to provide you that also. It all depends what you're looking for in life. So, the translation of this verse, we can say, with a mind absorbed in me, which is Paramatma, the Atman, or the Self, Krishna. Okay, what does absorb mean? How do you absorb your mind into something? Do you just do it? Do you have to be, can you do it while you're dull? You have to be what? Concentrated, fully committed in order to have your mind absorbed. So the one who absorbs his or her mind in me means what? That mind whose mind is fully concentrated and committed, saha yuktaha tatamaha. Saha yuktatamaha, on the last words here. That person is the greatest sadhaka. Because they're what? They're the most attached, they're the most devoted, they're the most committed to me, Ishwara, to the self. Now, the greatest amongst whom? Sarvesham yoginam, the greatest amongst all yogis. Finally, saha me yuktatamaha mataha. This is my teaching, Arjuna. This is my vision, Arjuna. And that concludes chapter 6.
That's quite interesting, the self-evidence and awareness spells out C, S-E-A, which after all, we talked about the ocean and the wave, it's an easy way to sort of remember it.
Okay. We will close with this together. Om Tat Sat Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Tsu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Dhyana Yogo Nama Shashtho Dhyayaha. Brahman is the only reality. Thus ends the 6th chapter called Dhyana Yoga, having the topic meditation in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the form of a dialogue between Shri Krishna and Arjuna, which is the essence of the entire Upanishads, whose subject matter is both the knowledge of Brahman and Yoga. What we are studying is the Bhagavad Gita. The advantage of the Gita is it includes the essence of all the texts that pertain to the matter of oneness. If you walk into a library of these books, like the ones like Brahma Sutras, most people would get overwhelmed immediately due to the sheer amount of knowledge. For those who are busy in lives, the householders, if you want to cut through all of this knowledge they want things they have to get through, the Bhagavad Gita is the solution. So what we're studying is we're cutting straight through so much knowledge that is actually out there and going directly to the essence.